I have to admit, I've never been a big fan of entering design contests or competitions. I think for one reason why I've never entered a contest is that, a lot like other woodworkers, I have a general lack of self-confidence in my own work. I know I do good work, my customers know I do good work, but there's always that little guy in the back of my mind that says, yeah, it's good, but it's not good enough for a competition. Now, I'm not afraid of a little criticism, as my years in architecture school taught me to have a thick skin. Architecture school is basically being told that everything you create is good, but it could be better. So, maybe entering this challenge will help me get over this lack of confidence, and who knows, maybe I'll start entering more competitions. Another reason why I've never entered a design contest before, I think again, goes back to my days in architecture. Architects love to create and enter design competitions that I feel is mainly to stroke their own egos. Now, I'm not saying all architects are egomaniacs by any means. In fact, most are probably quite the opposite and are quite modest people. But architects definitely have a reputation for being shrewd self-promoters. I consider myself to be a very humble guy. I prefer to do good work, take praise when given, but I'll never seek it out in any way. I don't mean to badmouth competitions either. The design competitions that I loathe are the ones that call for designs that solve no real problems in the world and or call for designs that can never be feasibly built in the real world. I believe a design competition should have a purpose of some sort and be based on real world parameters. I'm convinced that the design competitions that are only conceptual don't do anything to advance the world we live in, and exists just so that the chosen winner can exclaim to the world that I won the Unbuildable Meaningless Design Competition of 2018, or whatever it's called. So, with all that being said, I did choose to design and enter a piece into this Rockler Plywood challenge. Now, I heard about the challenge on the Modern Maker podcast a few weeks ago, and I have a few different reasons why I chose this particular competition. For one, the makers of the Modern Maker podcast, Chris, Ben, and Mike, all have great design sensibilities, and I've actually taken cues from their style of YouTube videos to better mine. So I wanted to be able to create a piece that designers that I respect can view and hopefully critique. A second reason I decided to enter a piece into this Rockler Plywood challenge is because I work primarily with reclaimed wood from old barns, and a competition like this gives me a chance and a reason to step out of my comfort zone. This design challenge gives me a reason to design and work in a much different material. I mean, sure, barnwood and plywood are essentially both wood, but they require very different approaches to design and craftsmanship. For one, barnwood's not square or flat, so I have to design and craft around that fact. Plywood, on the other hand, starts out perfectly square, flat, and true, or at least it should. Barnwood has blemishes that we call character. If plywood has blemishes, it's called OSB, or firewood. I always say that with reclaimed barnwood, a craftsman has to work with the wood, meaning you have to find a way to work with the imperfections and the blemishes. A successful design with reclaimed material should embrace the imperfections and work with them, and even emphasize them to show them off. On the other hand, when working with plywood, or even lumber mill wood, you have to work the wood, meaning that with plywood, you have to make it do what you want, and not worry so much about working with uneven surfaces or where the location of a nail hole is going to end up. That being said, there's an added difficulty for me working with plywood, and that is the fact that there's absolutely no room for error. Cuts should be at the correct angles, surfaces should be pristine, and the joinery top-notch. When working and crafting with reclaimed materials, you can't always get those perfect cuts or end up with super tight joints. But as an experienced craftsman, you have to find ways to take all those imperfections into account and still end up with a beautiful and functional piece that lasts. And the third reason I have for entering this competition is that it allows me to design and build a coffee table for my mom for Mother's Day. She's been on me for quite some time now to build her coffee table, so I figured this would be a great opportunity to get two birds with one stone. This way, I'm also not just creating a piece that's going to sit in my shop and collect dust, it's actually going to get used every day. This Rockler Plywood challenge has rather simple rules. Create a piece of furniture using only one piece of plywood. It can be any sheet size, whether it's a 1/4 inch, 3/4 inch, 1/2 inch. It can have any type of veneer, walnut, or what I'm using is maple. The rules for the challenge are pretty laid back as well, as you can add any material you want outside of the plywood that'll enhance and perfect the design as needed. The only stipulation is that the plywood must remain the main material of the piece. For my design, I wanted to create a piece that combines the pristine character of the plywood with the inherent imperfect character of the reclaimed barnwood. This maple plywood is really clean, has soft tones and hues. The reclaimed pine barnwood that I'm using is rough around the edges and has a great color that'll accent the maple veneer of the plywood. To go along with the fact that using plywood is way out of my comfort zone, I'm using this design to try out a couple of new to me techniques. For one, being open on both sides, I wanted the drawers that could be accessed from either the front or the back. So I decided to use bolts that rest in a slot on the drawer sides that will allow it to slide in both directions. Something that most manufactured drawer slides just don't allow. I'm also doing a barnwood inlay into the plywood, which is something I've wanted to do for quite some time, so this is the perfect chance. Now, I've been watching the Rockler Plywood Challenge hashtag on Instagram a lot since I started this project. And I have to say, I've been very impressed with a lot of the projects I've seen. I've seen a couple of coffee tables, some chairs, even a lamp. So, whether I win or not, I think it's just awesome to be a part of a challenge that brings out the creative works of so many other talented craftsmen. And, quite frankly, in the end, I really just hope Mom likes your Mother's Day gift. So, as always, please like, share, comment below, and hit that subscribe button. We'll see you guys on the next one.